There are so many awesome ways a story can introduce an overpowered character. Either it's the epic villain that was foreshadowed forever, Madara, or it's the dad of the main character who finally showed up after so freaking long. Hunter. It's the super strongest member of your guild that you never heard of before because the plot only came up with him now, but it's still badass when he walks into the room. Guild arts. It's so easy to make a badass introduction for an overpowered character. There are limitless possibilities at hand to craft the awesomeness. Now, the issue here is introducing a main character limits your options severely. You basically gotta introduce the setting through the main character's eyes and learn about the main character through his own mind. Or, you got the bystander's perspective of him, usually used for a more out-of-the-box main character rather than your self-insert isekai blob. Actually though, this season we literally have the isekai blob! Finally, it's been way too long! The physical type, not the metaphorical isekai blob. Okay, this is epic. But being that no JoJo since part 2 is a normal protagonist, like the infinitely assholey Joseph, which is why Joseph is best JoJo. The stoic badass Jotaro, which is why Jotaro is best JoJo. The explosively tempered Josuke, which is why Josuke is best JoJo. And in case you didn't notice, every single one of them uses the bystander approach. Smokey narrated the beginning of part 2 when he pickpocketed Joseph and the police mixed in. The already established Joseph narrated part 3 to go pick up little Jotaro from prison, introducing him to the viewers. And part 4 fused both of these approaches because JoJo is ever evolving in this fashion. It had the bystander approach of Koichi, and it had the already established character approach of Jotaro introducing Josuke. So being that Jonathan, JoJo number 1, was actually a normal human being, which by default makes him second best JoJo after all the other JoJos, we experience things from his perspective. Yeet! Giorno being best JoJo, which makes him inherently abnormal because normal people are lame, unlike us, because we woke. No, I'm clearly not attempting to rationalize my weirdness. I don't know why you would even think that. Wow, baka. Giorno Giovanna's intro is greatness because it's kind of from his perspective, despite him being the least relatable of all the JoJos thus far. But we only get to know him better through Koichi, a character we are already familiar with, and not gonna lie, Koichi is not my favorite character from part 4, but I still nutted everywhere to see him. Hashtag no homo. Hashtag no shota. Hashtag proudly only homo to the JoJo bloodline. But there's another protagonist introduction style mixed in here too, more than one in fact. As an example to what I'm about to say, in the 7 Deadly Sins, our protagonist Meliodas, who's potentially one of the most underrated shonen protagonists in my book, has a really cool writing style that I brought up in his individual OP analysis. Despite liking the guy, and him being a mostly calm and chill dude with, you know, his moments, to put it plainly, we do see things from his perspective. You know, we have Meliodas as the central character of the series, but it adds so much more mystery because there's a lot we don't know about Meliodas. And the tragic past and who he really is that's revealed later is all the more epic because despite seeing from his perspective, we never got a glimpse of his mindset. Most protagonists that we follow do not follow this path. We know when they're worried, and we know when they're upset. We know when they're bluffing, and we know what they're thinking at all times. In fact, some protagonists go overboard and have those 40-minute long inner monologues in middle of a duel of Yu-Gi-Oh! No, I'm not necessarily talking about Yu-Gi or anything. No! Yes. But it happens a lot. This is never the case with Meliodas, who's shrouded in a curious mystery. You never hear what he's thinking. You never feel what he's really feeling. It's all conjecture based on the actions he's taking. The fact of the matter is, we don't know anything that's going on in his mind. Now, it's a blend of these 4 seemingly contrasting protagonist styles that went into the first episode of JoJo's Part 5, crafting Giorno Giovanna, and brilliantly done to introduce a badass, seemingly OP character thus far. The episode starts with the bystander perspective, the girls that he pickpockets after seemingly protecting them, where they think he's the nicest, coolest guy ever, despite us viewers knowing otherwise. This gives us an inkling of who he really is. From the bystander perspective, us viewers were able to understand that he is a smooth talker and you can't judge him by his appearances. Then, that's all amped up tenfold when we see through Koichi's eyes. Yes, Koichi is number 2 because he is a character we already know. We know Koichi and understand his way of thinking as well as why he's in Italia altogether. We then implement the smooth talking part of JoJo that we learned from the bystander perspective when he gets Koichi to hire him. And now we learn more about Giorno. We learn about his stand as well as how smugly calm and calculating he is in what should be a really tense situation. The third perspectival glance we take at Giorno is the Meliodas style, where we follow him as a protagonist, and we're seeing from his perspective, but we don't know what's going on in his mind. So while confronting Luca, he's still the smooth talker we developed from the bystander perspective. He's still the calm badass that takes no shots from the Koichi perspective. Now that we have both of these character traits in the forefront of our minds, that's when we first learn exactly what he can do. And it's a pleasant surprise. He can seemingly create life and turn that living thing back into whatever he originally transformed. That already seems quite the crazy stand already, with crazy applications. But that's big time one-upped, even past that, because now, whenever someone attempts to attack that living thing Giorno created, all damage is reflected, and that is seemingly crazy OP. That is first revealed against Luca, as a full surprise to every viewer because we had this Meliodas style character writing. If we would have been looking into his mind, we would have had the legendary, basically meme at this point, shonen inner monologue. Little does the crying man know, this frog that jumped from the sewer several feet away onto my shirt is actually a creation of my stand power, and when his attack hits, the damage will be reflected back at him and the battle will be mine. Yeah, thankfully none of that. So as of right now, in the first episode, I feel like we have a pretty good idea of Giorno, with every facet of his personality and ability introduced in a way that makes them stand out and really integrates him into the story naturally. But all this so far is only while Giorno is not at a disadvantage. So far, Giorno always had the upper hand. Keep that in mind. Of course, Koichi's character is used incredibly well, meeting him a second time and discovering him to be a stand user. Through that, we learned that he is the offspring of the king of JoJo memes himself, Lord Dio, whose head was nicely planted on Jonathan's body. Which, to be completely honest, is another form of character development for Giorno as well. This time, we're developing him without him physically being there at all, but just with a conversation between Koichi and Jotaro. But as I was saying, we now completely understand this character, provided we've never seen him in a situation where he's at a disadvantage. And that's why the ending of the episode, with his little altercation with Bruno, was outstanding. When Bruno first walked up to him, the conversation started with what we learned from the bystander perspective. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Giorno's smooth talking. Next, Bruno gets in his face to see if he's lying, and honestly, I'd be sweating more than Bakugo. But we learned from the Koichi encounter he can keep his cool in tense situations. All this taking place with Giorno controlling the mental flow of the conversation, and also all this without us being in Giorno's mind. Let's be honest, this would be an information overload if this would be the first scene in JoJo's Part 5, and we would know nothing about Giorno. But having introduced this main character from so many angles, this feels totally natural to the character we set up. But then, after Bruno leaves the train, and Giorno, who let his guard down, finds an eyeball somehow in his clenched fist, what does he think to himself? Did you pick that up? Yes. That was the first time in the episode that we were allowed into the mind of Giorno to see what he's actually thinking, as opposed to just his actions. And you know why? For the short remainder of the episode, Giorno was at a disadvantage, and so we heard his thoughts as well. Giorno is fighting his first major stand battle, and he is at an unfortunate disadvantage, fighting an opponent that his reliably overpowered ability is seemingly futile against. So at this point, we see the greatness of Giorno's stand, we see how it's not invincible in the slightest, but we also have a complete picture of Giorno's character through the several scenes involving him merely in one episode alone. All that being said, obviously we have to be led into his mind eventually, and this was the perfect time to do it because stand battles are basically all strategy, being that the stand's powers are so drastically different and complex. So I am so happy with the way episode 1 of Part 5 came out, because this was a near perfect introduction. I already love Giorno, and I haven't even watched episode 2 at the time of recording this video. So whammin' and gentle whammin', the hype for Part 5 is strong. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, feel free to leave a like and subscribe for more anime and JoJo's content. Link in the description to my Twitter, feel free to follow me there. To my merch, feel free to pick some up. And to my Patreon, all patrons are invited to the Discord, and all donations are appreciated. I wanted to especially thank King Beat My Meat, Sage of Snake, Pop-Up, Grumpy Welshman, Girthy Worm, Jim, Allison Stricker, JD Fincher, Elaser, Sash, Frisky Dingo, Leo, Rari, MD, Hugh, Praise Lord Gilgamesh, Billy Thompson, Salve Says, Zindergarten, Sergeant Malarkey, Divine Reigns, Miku, and TMFilly, who is editing this video. Thank you, TMFilly, for editing this video. You're awesome. Feel free to say hi or something. Also, thanks to the Lord Tweegers, Teakui, Zombie Nisha, Portland Viewing, Necro, Cream My Pancake, Anthony Booth, and of course the God Usopp Rank, Tyler Schumacher, Dark Elements, Sunny Parks, and Maurice Luis Dreyfus. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for coming. Because JoJo's Part 5 is finally here. May the bizarre adventure continue. Remember to watch JoJo's and to stay weird, fam. Which are kind of two of the same thing, don't you think?